So today I'm going to be doing part 2 of a story that I was telling a while ago. The way I explained this before was that each story is kind of its own story that stems from a previous story, and it is a story on its own, but it does have a connection to the other story, but then that story is also a story on its, I don't know. It's like Inception? So it's a story within a story within a story. Anyways, this is story number 2 out of my 3-story Inception story, trilogy story. If you are interested in story number 1, which is called How I Was Fired, go ahead and watch my video. I will link it right about here. If you're not interested in that, I will go over the parts of that story that are relevant for this story. I was working at a company where I was the receptionist, and it was my job to run errands and take things places and pick up things and things like that. That's all that's really important for this story. So this is a story about why I don't listen to Fergie's song My Humps, and I think that it's bad luck. Here we go! So when the song My Humps came out, I was in high school, and I really liked the song for 2 reasons. 1, because I really liked Fergie, and 2, because Fergie's dad, Mr. Ferguson, was my American government teacher. So I remember this almost as if it was yesterday, and I can't believe it was 11 years ago, but I had just gotten my license. I was driving in the car with my best friend at the time, and the song came on the radio, and we were singing and dancing to it, and I wasn't really paying attention to what I was doing, and I was going down a road. Luckily, it wasn't a very busy road. I'm not really paying attention to the road, and the road starts to turn, and I don't start to turn, and my wheels like bump the curb, and then I turn the radio off and I get kind of scared, and it's like my first I don't want to say accident because it wasn't an accident. Nothing was broken, nothing was bent, nothing was scraped, nobody got hurt, it was totally fine. But it was my first case of reckless driving, and I always think about it and how badly that actually could have turned out. Fast forward to a few years later, I'm working at that company that I talked about in my first video, and I'm running an errand for them. So I'm sitting in my car at a red light, and in front of me is a Yukon. I don't know what car company makes Yukons, but I know it was a Yukon. And my Humps comes on the radio, and I just kind of look down. I look up quickly, and all of a sudden I see reverse lights, and it's too late for me to do anything. The Yukon backs up straight into me. So I quickly get out of the car, and the guy also gets out of the car, and it's a guy right around my age, and he says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I realized that I had just missed my turn, and it was just in this like shopping center area right before this gas station that we were next to, and I didn't know you were behind me, and I thought I could just reverse and go into it." And he's like, "I have drums in the back and I couldn't see you, and my car's so high and yours is so low, and I just didn't see you." And so I'm like, "Okay, well, like, let's pull into the gas station and then we can like switch information." And I look at my car, and basically the hood, which would normally go like this, goes like this. And the latch for the hood is broken. I basically could stick my entire hand in the peak of the dent. So we pull into the gas station, and I say, "Okay, just give me your license and your insurance information and we can be on our way." And he says, "So I don't have my wallet with me. I left it in my other car." So when I find out he doesn't have his driver's license, I know that I need to call the cops so that they can come and verify who he is and give me all of his information. And so I call the cops, and this motorcyclist cop shows up. And the first thing he does is walk up to me and say, "Let me guess, he stopped and you didn't." And to me, like, that was so incredibly rude. Like, there was no reason for him to assume that I rear-ended him. I mean, obviously I understand that in 90% of cases where somebody's hood is crunched and somebody's fender is crunched, the person in front got rear-ended, but there was really no point for him to say that to me, because even if that did happen, that's so degrading, and like, obviously I wouldn't have done it intentionally, and it would just make me feel like crap. Okay. So after I explained to the cop that no, in fact, he reversed into me, the cop says, "Okay, well, all you have to do is exchange information. This isn't a big crash. Nobody's really hurt. No one needs an ambulance. So just explain information," and starts to like walk away. And I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." I stop the cop and I tell him he doesn't have his driver's license with him. And the cop's like, "Oh, okay, well, like, let me look him up for you. What really bugged me about the situation looking back is that the cop never talked to me. He never asked me for my side of the story. He never asked me for my information. He never checked to make sure that, like, I was okay. All he did was blame me and then go take care of the guy. So what the cop does is he ends up looking up the guy's information. I'm standing relatively close so I could hear the conversation that they're having, and the guy ends up saying, oh, my name is blah 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 junior, my dad is blah 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 senior, and this is his car. So the cop looks up his information and gives me his information, and then I'm on my way. So I go back to work, and the guys in the workshop end up roping down the hood of my car so that it's drivable, and until I get, you know, the money from the insurance company to fix it or replace it or whatever I end up doing, I can still use it. Fast forward to a couple of weeks later, and I had just gotten my iPod Shuffle for my birthday. I loaded it up with all kinds of songs and was ready to take a trip up to Santa Barbara, which is like 3-ish hour drive away, to see my best friend for the weekend because she was going to UC Santa Barbara. When I drive out to Santa Barbara, I end up on this highway that doesn't have a lot of off-ramps on it or exits. It just is kind of a really long stretch of coastline highway. And I'm about 20-ish minutes away from where my friend lives in the actual city. I wanted to just check on my hood. I don't really know what I was thinking, but I pulled over to the side of the road at one point and tried to lift up the hood of my car to check it, and it seemed good, and so I left it down, and this Jeep pulls over, and the guy gets out of the car and he's like, hey, you need help? And I was like, you know what, no, I'm good, thanks. Like, I was actually just leaving. So I get in my car, I start driving away, and I'm going maybe 40 miles an hour when my hood flies up, the ropes break, the hood goes over my windshield, and it's so heavy and so fast that it actually forms to like the mold of my car. So the hood goes up against my windshield and then over the top, and it bends down the roof of my car. And I can't see in front of me because my windshield is covered with my hood, and I can't see behind me because my hood just smashed down the roof of my car, and my rearview mirror is now like dangling, and I am freaking out because I'm driving on this road. I have no idea if someone's in front of me, if somebody stopped in front of me. I just like I don't know if there's like I don't know, I can't see anything. And so I start to slow down and get over into the emergency lane, which I can see through a window about this big on my hood, because you know, like when you lift your hood up, there's like a little kind of like gap between, so I can kind of see where the emergency lane was, but I have no idea if there's not like giant cinder block things in the emergency lane, or another car in the emergency lane, or a person, and I have to figure out how to get myself into the emergency lane and slow down. Like I finally get to a stop, and I'm sitting in my car, and my entire windshield is shattered, and it's like the windshield is just little pieces of glass that are about this big, and I could hear it cracking more. And I look out my window, and the Jeep of the guy who just helped me drives by and doesn't stop. And I'm like, really? Like, really, dude? Like, you stop when I like don't really need you, but then when I actually like need somebody. I'm kind of sitting there in like a state of like shock and making sure that I'm okay. I have little cuts on me because some of the glass did fly out and like hit me, and so I had like little cuts on my hands and like on my face, but nothing major. I was perfectly fine. I call my dad, and the minute that I start to talk, I'm just bawling and I can't even get the words out of my mouth. My dad answers the phone, and he's like, Holly, stop crying, I can't understand you. And so I finally just like took a deep breath, and I was like, my hood flipped up and my windshield shattered, and I'm so far away from home, because at that point I was like 2.5 hours away, and he's like, okay, well, like, are you okay? Like, you know, and went through the whole, like, I'm okay, how did it happen, whatever. And he's like, Holly, I'm so sorry, because he felt really guilty for letting me go, knowing that my hood was just wrapped down with ropes. But I've been driving it for so long. What was the difference between this trip and yesterday when I was driving out to dinner 5 miles away from home? So my dad ends up telling me, you're gonna need to get a tow truck and have them tow you all the way back home. And I'm really upset because, one, I don't want to go home. I didn't even make it to Santa Barbara yet, and I wanted to hang out with my friend all weekend. And secondly, I don't really want to spend like at least 2.5 hours in a car, in a tow truck car, with a stranger. And secondly, it's like 5:30, so there's going to be so much traffic of people going home 5:30 on a Friday night that it's probably going to be more like 4 or 5 hours in the car with this guy. So I call my friend and I'm like, hey, I just almost died. Is there any way that you can come pick me up? Basically what my plan is that I have the tow truck coming, he's gonna come get my car, my best friend will come down 20 minutes and pick me up, and then I would just take the train home at the end of the weekend. My friend came and picked me up, and I had a really fun weekend with her, and then I get on the train and I take out my iPod, which I was using to play music in my car. So when I was on the freeway, I was listening to the music, and then when I decided to get out and check my car for the first time, I just paused my music, and I wasn't paying attention to like what was playing on it or anything. I got onto the train and to go home after the weekend, and I put my earbuds in, and I just pressed play, and it resumes where it was at, and I hadn't listened to it the whole weekend, and it resumes where it was at, and what is playing but My Humps by Fergie. What? Since then, I've never listened to that song while I'm driving, while I'm in a friend's car, while a train is taking me somewhere, on a plane. I don't even have it on my playlist so that it doesn't accidentally play, because I am so paranoid. I don't even know, but I think it's really weird that there were 3 different occasions where I was in a car accident or some kind of car catastrophe, and the song was playing, and so I don't listen to the song anymore. And it's so funny because I've been in other people's cars when the song comes on, and I'm like, oh, we need to change it, and they're like, what? Like, why? And I'm like, I've gotten into 3 car accidents while the song was playing, and everyone, as soon as they say that, is automatically like, okay, we're changing it. So that's my crazy story about why I don't listen to My Humps while I'm driving, and that's my car accident story. There's a lot more to this story in part 3, which involves me getting a new car and the car dealer being awful and stealing my money. So if you want to check that out, I'll link that somewhere around here when it's up. And if you want to see part 1 of how I got fired from my job, I'll put that somewhere over here. Alright guys, thank you for listening to my story. Hope you have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye.